Alright, so today we have Rafie Chua, the woodworker behind Clay and Bevel. For those who are unfamiliar with Rafie's work, Clay and Bevel started in 2013 and it's one of the only custom handmade furniture workshop in Singapore, which we are here filming today. So these days, Rafie is an extremely busy man, but today he has kindly taken his time out from his crazy schedules to join us for the show. So thank you. So before we really start, I want to tell a quick story about how we met. So it might be 2014, right?
Yep.
Yeah, when Clay and Bevel first started out. I just came back from my gap year from South America, and then and I was starting my wedding planning business. But at the same time, I had this great idea to build a library in front of my house, this wooden box. And so then I met Fanny from Finn, and he introduced me to you, which then I sort of just texted you out of the blue. Do you think was I a weird guy? It's like,
I thought it was kind of strange. Your request was really quite strange. When you told me that you wanted to build a library. So in my head, I was thinking like rows and rows of books. So, but I entertained the idea lah, and then I finally found out that it was, what's that? Free library. The one we made lah.
So I came by with to you with like a half-built library with a few cutout, and you had no idea how tough it was building a library because back then it was really there was no table, and we're just like on the floor clamping it to some wooden planks.
Yeah, I know. You showed me the photos.
Yeah. And we're drilling the wood with a drill, and then screwing the screw in. Which when we're using plywood, the wood split. And when I came to you, you'd be like, well, check out this air compressor machine. I was like, what is this amazing thing?
Nail gun. I introduced you to the world of nail guns.
Yes. And I was just like, okay, I'm never going back to this drilling and nailing again. And then, but there was one time we were actually making a door. And remember the time? And I was just like, okay, Rafie, you cannot lah. I think we'll just, I'll just pay someone to do it. It's really tough.
You were so flustered, man. Like you couldn't see the end of the project.
But because we don't have a concrete solution to solve the problem, it's more like try and error.
Because for me, making things right, it's a process. So you take it through the whole way, and then you get the result But there are steps that you have to do. So I think at that point, you couldn't see that You couldn't see that. If you just do this right, and then you'll get a door.
But we weren't building any door too.
Oh,
because there was a plastic, there was acrylic sheet.
Oh, the frame.
The frame was
the frame. Yeah, the frame was a bit tricky
Yeah, so that was that. A big thank you to you who made that happen.
I went to your house for the opening. Right, that was quite encouraging. To see people quite positive about what you wanted to achieve. So it was
I
quite
was
nice.
Also being quite an asshole to you too, and then you're like, actually, this thing is not very stable if we have like a one pillar thing, and you're like, no. I was like, hey, I wanted one pillar, and you're like, no, let me two pillar would be more balanced, and we managed to figure out that rig, right? Which I'm still very proud of today, which no one will ever know how, they never look below the library to see how it's being fixed to that one pole.
Yeah.
But for all of you guys who are out there, please check out the bottom. That was the most proud thing that I think and the door too. There was a magnet thing we did together. It was fantastic.
It's like your baby.
Yeah. But maybe let's just start off with the definition of carpenter and woodworker, because that's what we're going to be used a lot today, and you really strongly emphasize the difference of that, right?
You have to give it context. In Singapore, carpentry is mainly referred to working with plywood and laminates. So like your kitchen cabinets, they are made of plywood and laminates. So in the olden days, they used to do it everything out of solid wood. So natural timber, that still can move, wood movement. But now, because of Singapore is developed at such a fast pace that people need homes and they need it quick. So plywood was plywood is a solution to, you know, fulfilling these demands at a very short time, within a very short time, because it takes a lot longer to process solid wood into big planks to make cabinets, and it's a lot more expensive also. So I guess carpentry in Singapore is about working with plywood and laminates, and woodworking is more of working with natural timber. So like wood processed out of logs, and then you make into furniture. So I guess woodworking is it's more there's a lot more room for artistic expression, because it's furniture, you know. You've seen really beautiful furniture, right? But how nice of a kitchen cabinet have you seen? You know,
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Back in the days, those are very, very pretty.
yeah, because if
Now,
they make out of solid wood, cabinets, kitchen cabinets can be really nice.
and usually back then it was thick, right, around here, the region.
Yeah,
Or there was a few
because
more.
of our proximity to like Burma, you know, and Thailand, where they have a lot of thick plantations. But now, obviously, with the, you know, people having used a lot of thick,
Overuse.
yeah, so a lot of trees are all cut. Those big old thick trees, no longer already.
And I guess when I first met you in that space at where's that Tai Seng
Oh no,
area,
that was in Kalang Puding.
Kalang Puding. I
Yeah,
remember.
know that old
And
building.
you were actually sharing a space with another a rental company, and
Yeah.
setting up super cool like photo booth
Yeah.
that you built for weddings. And so maybe just a quick story of what's the sequence of events that lead you from in university in Melbourne, right? Yeah, to then when I met you.
Uni, I did a bachelor in commerce.
Ah,
It's completely unrelated, lah. I mean, but you know, that was something I was good at, so it just did it, lah. And after uni, I realized that, you know, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to do it for the rest of your life. So I started looking outwards. Started searching for things that, you know, I could possibly do for the rest of my life. Because that's the end goal for me. Um, so after uni, I worked in banking for a while, and for a while it's only like 6 months, and I couldn't take it really. So I got some money, and I bought 400 chairs from China. So that one was spurred because my sister was getting married, so she was like, and she's always been she's the youngest in the family, lah.
yeah,
So she's always been very taken care of.
yeah.
So she came up to me and she said, "Hey, why don't you invest in these chairs?" I knew her agenda, lah, but you know, I'm her brother, right? So you can use it you can rent it out, you know, start a business.
So she was the first person who gave you the business proposition.
Yeah, and she was my first customer also. And that's how it all started, lah. Just plonk down a lot of cash, you know, risk not getting the chairs, because it was my first time buying investing in China. So there was that 2 weeks before it arrived, right? I didn't hear from the supplier, you know. It was so scary.
Did you go on
kept
Alipay
calling,
or was it Taobao kind of situation?
Alibaba Express. I think.
Alibaba Express.
Yeah.
Chinese.
Everything right up to the point where I transferred the money, it was good, you know. Like, he was on time with his replies and everything.
Okay.
But I guess maybe he was busy, because the chairs did arrive in the end. So it came in the container, and then we had to unpack everything. And that's when I got my first space in Kallang also. But it was just like part of a unit where I stored the chairs. And that's when I started marketing them out.
And your brother helped you to find a place.
Yeah, my brother's a property agent.
That's correct.
So it was all very convenient. I had him help me look for a space. And that was pretty much where it all began, you know, being on my own. making your own money, that kind of thing.
Did you quit already your job?
Yeah, by that time, yeah, I did. So I couldn't take it lah. It was just long hours, and with nothing to be proud of lah. Well, for me lah, maybe some people are really proud of like having a stable job, but not me lah. I couldn't hack it lah. So then while I was applying the chairs, people started asking me for props for their weddings. So I thought maybe I had a little bit of know-how with woodworking. So I did lah. I made some props, and then I started an Instagram account for the stuff that I made lah.
I remember your first prop was the chair table that you can put together.
Oh, yeah.
Was that the first?
That was a secondary school friend of mine. She just moved in. She just got married, and then they needed a nesting table. So nesting table is basically 3 tables that come into one. So you can take them out, and it becomes 3 tables, but you can also put them back together. And that was very reassuring because they really liked what I made. And things started to roll from there lah. It just picked up momentum. Like, I didn't really do any marketing. It's just Instagram. So I guess being right in the middle of the time where Instagram started to pick up, and then people started to see the stuff that I made online, and then it just kept rolling until we are here.
So this is the third space then. The place I met you was the second place?
Oh yeah. That was Kalang Pudding.
Yeah. How did mom and dad, feel about this? Because after all, they did invest a lot of money to put you through in Melbourne, right?
Oh, uni, yeah.
Yeah.
I think at first they were a bit like confused. Like
Confused. Okay.
they were like, what is this guy doing? But my parents are business owners too. So, I guess they got over it really quickly lah. And then they just started to support. And I think that one was really crucial lah. Their support lah. Because I think without their support I wouldn't have had it would have been a lot harder. A lot more tiring, Like my mom likes to make dinner. So, that was for me, even though it was like something really simple as dinner, right? After one whole day of slogging it out at the shop, and then you go home for dinner, it's like, it's shock lah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like recuperating. For me, that one, a simple home cooked meal is the best.
How do your friends feel about it?
Friends,
Yeah.
I thought I was crazy lah. Like this guy, he went to study overseas and then got a job in a bank and then throws it all away to buy some chairs from China. That was the chairs lah, and then after that it was like making furniture. I guess because a lot of my friends, right, they don't know anything about like blue collar work. And it's not their fault, really. It's not their fault. It's like how Singapore is. If you ask any parent, like, what would you want your children to be when they grow up? I want them to, go to uni, graduate, do well in school, and then get a nice, comfortable job. Presumably where? Like in an office, right? And no, I don't think any parent like really says very proudly, like, I want my son to be a mechanic. That kind of thing. Blue collar work, like, So I guess it's something they didn't understand. For me also, I guess I didn't really understand blue collar work, but I knew white collar work wasn't for me. I don't think I could do it. So for me, it was like something new, but I was really willing to just try anything at that point.
But you came out of like, would you say, desperation of like just immensely hating the office job?
Yeah, it was that because I really couldn't take it It's very long hours, and then when you finish you get so tired, and then you have no time to do anything else. So it's like me at that point of time when you did the frame, like you couldn't see the end.
That's a great analogy.
I couldn't see the end of it all. Like I can't imagine myself doing that for like 20 years.
But you did have Saturday and Sunday off though, right?
Yeah lah, but you know,
Okay.
it's akin to like saying,
But you're dying 5 days and then you
Yeah.
try to recuperate for 2 days.
if I was to do that for the rest of my life, right, it's just like me selling my time, you know. And if you're gonna sell your time, because you can't get it back anyway, why not you sell your time doing something you like? You know, at least you can you get the money, and you get to say, hey, I did something I really like with my life.
And I remember back then too, you started, I mean, there's the wedding chair rental business, and then slowly the furniture sort of came later. And then you started like Yellowstone and Plane and Bevel sort of at this. Is it at the same time or one before the other?
It was at the same time for a period.
Why
So it
why do
was-
you want to separate it?
Because Yellowstone was more of rental services. I knew what I wanted with Plane and Bevel. I wanted to set up a brand, something that people can associate with what I want them to know about the brand lah. Because in Singapore, it's very hard to find local makers that do that whole sort of package with branding. And there are custom makers in Singapore, but they're mainly in their like 50s. They're like old school guys. And for them it was really to make a living. Because that was what they knew how to do. Those guys from China, you know, those carpenters from China. So what I wanted to do was not really just to make a living. I want to curate a brand. That's something that Singapore is lacking.
And which is why you separate both of them,
Yeah.
because they're clearly distinctly two different kind of business.
It's very important that people know that Plane and Bevel is a furniture brand, locally made, and the emphasis on quality and design. I think, you know, if it goes in that direction, then a lot of people will benefit.
And do you still do Yellowstone stuff now?
A lot less. I've still got inquiries. I cannot fulfill them just because, you know, I only have 24 hours in a day.
Well, the thought is
Minus 12 that I'm sleeping.
to sell the chairs away, right?
Yeah, but it's still there. It's a thorn in my side, but
What would it have been?
eventually it will go.
Will you use the space for something
No, I
else?
was thinking like, you know, it's like offering them to any interior job that I have, right? Just to like decorate the place with the chairs. Like, you know, Coastal Settlement along Changi?
Yeah.
You know how they have chairs on
Outside,
top?
right?
No, on top, I think. They hang chairs from the ceiling.
Wait, is it the one that cut into half and then they stick
Yeah,
it up?
yeah. So, I mean, they could be used for that. Like, there's a lot of things that they could be used for. But right now, they're just sitting there. But it's okay with me, because I have a lot of things going on right now. You know, I spent, 2 years trying to stabilize Plane and Bevel.
Yeah, I think the next question is exactly that, right? I think the transition is very simple because it's just sort of like by business. Until you can't do the chairs, then you just sort of max yourself out and transit more and more into woodworking. So actually, in the start, the money making thing was the chair, and that's also was very needed to sustain Plane and Bevel too. And now that Plane and Bevel has sort of taken off, then you sort of do less and less of the Yellowstone stuff. And you have many people come and go.
Interns, partner only one. And that one's a bit more of a longer story. But it's different set of challenges. You know, because I work very closely with him. I see him every day. And a lot of the projects, we need to work very closely. We need to be almost like thinking the same thing. And it's a different set of challenges, meaning like I need to be very mindful that I'm not doing this alone anymore. Because previously it was only me. And in terms of construct, design, or running the shop, it was just me.
And you have people that you pay like per day to
like,
come help
it's
you
not
send.
that their opinions didn't matter, but my opinion was the primary one.
Correct.
and that was how I run the place lah. So now we've joined around, and he's putting in a lot of he's pulling a lot of weight lah. Like he helps with, you know, branding and, you know, the construction of stuff. So I have to be mindful to not be too big, you know, like too overpowering, like commanding, you know, saying
How do you
like,
do? How do you do?
no. So you have to listen. Number one, you have to listen, and not only like to the things that they say, you know, the his actions, you know. It's important lah, because that when people feel like, you know, their voice is not heard, then they'll stop talking, and that's not what I want. He's very creative. He was a chef before meeting me. So if you think about it, right, the kitchen is much like a workshop. You know, you take raw ingredients, it goes through a process of creativity, and then it goes to your dinner table. You know, it's a lot like what we do here. So I guess that's why he has found a place of belonging here lah. Yeah, it's a lot like what he did in the kitchen, but it's more like what he wants to do. So sometimes I catch myself being a bit too egoistic, you know, like this design is the one we should do, you know, we should use this material. But then that's when, you know, I remember that, you know, I'm not in this alone, and I should consider his opinion, his idea. And sometimes if you take a step back and then you look at the bigger picture, right, it sort of makes sense to, you know, allow other people to give input, because, you know, after all, two heads are better than one.
No, for sure. Is Lynn still around?
No, I think Lynn has moved on to do her own thing. She's doing natural indigo dyeing.
Oh, cool.
It's really cool. I love her. I love the color of the dye and the whole process. Like
Very cool.
she used to do it here for a while. She used to use the toilet area, and then, you know, the hanging where we hang the stuff. But I think she's doing it more at home. Maybe because the shop is dusty, you know.
Affects the
yeah.
quality of the.
So yeah, but occasionally she comes when she needs to cut material.
John, Lynn. Man, let's move on to the topic. It sounds quite sad.
A lot of people leaving.
Yeah.
But that's evolution.
Hey, but that's part and parcel of being a business. But you know, like we were discussing back then about, you know, like your interns coming in. Who was that? The furniture designer guy. And I guess maybe the question would be, what do you want to see more, man, in young furniture designer? Or
resilience, pretty much, like having the perseverance to go through with something.
is there actual? It's just staying for longer hours, coming in on Saturday.
Not really. I have had interns who wouldn't try welding, for example. Like, I didn't know how to weld when I first started. It was just woodworking. I've had interns who wouldn't try.
Is it because you didn't talk to them? Why did they not want to try?
No, I did.
Okay.
I invited them, you know, to try.
It was
Have a
quite
shot.
dangerous one. I mean,
Yeah, but you know, if you know what you're doing, you won't injure yourself really
it's
badly.
true. No, because when I meet like old school carpenter and I look at their machine, I'm like afraid of my life because they don't have safety in their plate.
But you see, that's where, you know, that's where I'm different. Safety is quite important for me in the shop. Because if you lose your hand, you know, what are you gonna make? Nothing. What you cannot continue. So you gotta use common sense. Is that there's always a safer method. that's something very important that I live by lah. There's always a safer method lah.
So more
Sometimes
resilience in the interns lah. You want to see younger
be more open lah.
to try new things. Why do you think they're not?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out myself.
It's a mystery of life, right? What's the most proud project that you have did under Play and Bevel?
Proud feature walls I like feature walls.
This is the one that we did together.
Yeah.
You're not saying this just because I'm here, right?
No. Why would I? No lah. It's nice. It lets me do something that, because the client, right, he was very laid back. He was like, "You just do something for me lah."
Yeah. Also, by the way, it's basically a wood wall with different wood that we collected, old wood. They have different sort of like colors, and some have paint on it, and we cut them out and chop them and sort of like stick them into the wall. Some of them we even created shelf for them to put stuff, right?
It's almost like a very nice medley of art, and woodworking. So I guess that's why I like it so much. Because you get to play with colors, but at the same time it's woodworking lah. It's a job,
Yeah, actually, since we're on that point, maybe I think everyone should try to know this, because I know it because I did that library and it was a painstaking process. But maybe just sort of tell me your design or production process from the start of like a client writing you an email or writing a message to the finished product.
So they get in touch either by email or they just give me a call. And then what I do is I invite them to come and have a conversation with me, just like what we're having now. So we talk about what they want to make, whether they have a design in mind. If they don't, then I'll offer them, I'll offer to design their piece. And then it's really just a conversation. But it'll be like a span of like 3 months, a longer time. Because I really want to let them get to know, how it's being made, and if the wood is locally sourced.
So after you talk about designs first, right? If they
Design
want.
first, and then we build.
And the building process start with finding the wood.
Finding the wood, yes. In Singapore, we have some suppliers, but a lot of the wood in Singapore is imported. There are some that are locally sourced, but we don't have much variety. I mean, we are a city state.
Yeah.
So, and then after we get the material, we process the material here in the shop, and then we start building. So along the way, maybe if I feel like the design is not working, then I'll contact the client and then we'll talk again. Pretty much the client usually trusts me a lot to make changes or to consult on materials. And then we deliver. Customer.
Custom. And do they have the choice now that, to do a wood joint or a...
Yeah.
Wood joint more expensive? No. Because...
Of course, it will take more work.
Yeah.
But, it's all... If I feel like, it would really help the piece in aesthetic or just structural, I would recommend it. No problem.
And how much is like...
That's the beauty of custom.
Yeah.
You get everything that you want.
So if someone would want a custom table, how much should they come to you first before... should prepare to have...
Oh, prepare.
Oh, yeah.
A regular dining table, maybe about upwards of 3,000
3,000.
Singapore dollars.
Okay. This is a table of 6, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Not cheap. But there's a reason why it's not cheap too. I mean, that's actually why I want to emphasize on, because I think a lot of people just see it as like, just, a table I can get from Scantic or whatever. And why is this so much more expensive? And why don't you try to do it?
It's not really that also lah. I mean, part of it is that you're correct.
Yeah.
But I think more clients are drawn to the fact that the table or their furniture has a story. Like not many people can say that, hey, you know, my furniture was locally made by local craftsmen. And if the wood is sourced locally, even, you know, I think it's a bit of an appreciation.
Yeah, for
Like in
sure.
this world, we are so obsessed with materialism. But you know, if you appreciate, like let's say a dining table, right? It can be used for a lot of things. You know, people come together and eat. We share stories,
Yeah,
icebreaker.
correct. Yeah, no, I mean also when you spend more on a certain product, you actually think through whether this is something whereby you need, right? Versus when you can go to IKEA and buy something, and the next thing you know, like a month later, oh, this doesn't suit my, yeah, and you throw it
You
out.
know, I'm well aware lah, like my prices are a bit above budget for a, 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 a lot of people lah. But I guess it really depends on what you want.
But you also talk about coming out with your own line of product. How's that coming along? Or is that idea being stashed or KIV?
Right now we are really busy with custom work lah. And it's just that the circumstances are not very conducive for producing a line.
Yeah,
We don't. I mean,
no, I don't understand what you're talking about because the
there's
space is limited.
a lot to consider lah. Maybe when the business is a bit more mature, a bit with a bit more like people have a bit more confidence in the
Trust, yeah.
brand, then you know it'll be better to timing.
Correct, correct.
Timing is important.
Agree. And you know, you always joke that if you could go back, well, firstly, is that do you know that you're going to be a woodworker when you're studying in Melbourne?
No,
No, because you always joke that,
not for a second.
oh, you know, if I were to go back again, I will probably learn furniture design or something along that
Yeah,
line.
yeah.
And in that on that note, where would you go? I mean, if you can do it all over again, yeah. And or would you actually just choose to work under someone, a craftsman?
I would, if I had the choice, I probably wouldn't go to uni because it was an enriching experience, but
Was
not
good fun,
necessary lah.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it lah. I mean, I got to know people that I know now that have shaped my life in a good way, in a very good way. Learn a lot of things. But if you ask me, I would go to a woodworking school in Japan because I really like Japan and I like their culture. But I'm still Singaporean, don't worry.
Oh yeah, yeah. But is there a reason why Japan over like Sweden or America?
Japanese people they're very. If you look at their furniture, their quality is insane. You know, it's just insane. The level of quality because like you know Japanese people are known for their steel, among many other things lah, like their samurai sword. You know,
Yes.
it can get really sharp, but that's the quality of steel, and
So the raw material first is a lot better in Japan.
not really lah.
Oh.
Not really. It's the process. As they have a lot of manual processes, which is quite ironic, right? Because you know Japan is known for automation and machinery, but in the craft scene, right, they have managed to preserve a lot of manual processes. So you have like old masters that still teach, you know, how to sharpen a knife. And that was one of the reasons why I went to Japan for a while, right? To learn how to sharpen steel. Because it's actually very important in the shop. If you want to attain a certain level of quality in your pieces, you need to learn how to work and sharpen knives, planing knives, blades. So
Would
I
that
did
be
that
also
for
where
a
you
while.
want to go if you can have the time off to?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's still an option.
Oh yeah.
But you know, I don't have time. I really don't have the time. Maybe I'll close for a while.
Would you do that?
No lah, I don't think it's good for, not right now. I don't think it's good to just up and go for a while.
A while? How do you mean by a while? Because the time a while was like 2 weeks. 2 weeks
Yeah.
in Japan, right?
I think 1 year. 1 year will be good.
1 year would be good, right? It'll be nice. I'm going to Japan next.
But I have to find somebody else like me to run this place.
Isn't that the hardest part?
That's the hardest part, man.
Hey, so I remember at one time in the new studio, you had quite an open policy for people to come in to work on their own project.
Yeah.
Because, but like how tools are very dangerous, and versus now you don't have the time. So
At that time, I was more still exploring like where Plain and Bevel could position itself. So I was thinking maybe if I get more people in to experience the craft, it would be a good thing lah. And it was lah. I mean, it brought a lot of different people to the shop. But then as time went by, our project started to it started to get more serious, and we just didn't have the time to organize people to come over, and it's always been just me and recently Jonathan. So we are thinking of doing workshops. I mean, people have been really asking whether we want to teach to do simple projects lah. But that one also you need to allocate time and it's resources also.
yeah,
Maybe on the weekends. I don't know. I'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Really.
And say for example, if there's a young Rafie, who is a wood enthusiast or a maker, what do you think? Like, what would be your advice to them for like a 3 years or 5 years plan? Go to Japan.
No lah. I mean, knowledge. You need to start learning.
But where can they learn? Here.
Oh, you can learn. I taught everything almost myself.
I know.
It's like YouTube, Google,
But they wouldn't have the tools, right?
books. If you look at the studio, there's a lot of books on woodworking, and it's a lot of trial and error.
Okay, so let's say right now you they are just in any old regular. Maybe they want to go to uni. They want to learn. They have videos, but then I feel that the challenge might be where can they do it, or what would be the most.
Singapore has a number of makerspaces that recently, over the last few years.
Anyone to recommend?
There's one at the National Design Centre.
One maker group.
Yeah, one maker group. I think they have a quite well-equipped workshop, and there's a lot of instructors there that can assist. But and the bottom line is they have to be like a sponge, and just absorb knowledge and then implement it trial and error, because this line of work is really, it's you do your stuff and then you get a physical product, so you have to trial and error, like you have to do it physically. And if it's not to your expectation, do it again, scrap it, do it again. I spent so much time scrapping final products, just breaking it apart and then doing it again. It's a pain in the ass, but it depends on what you want to achieve.
And how about like the money side of things?
The money side of things.
I mean, because you still need to feed yourself, right? In between the process, like how do you think? Like, do you think it's possible in 3 to 5 years' time with the amount of knowledge to start having their own brand? Or maybe in between they should really start like you, because your journey was that you started on Instagram and people just find you.
The money side of things, at the start it was very sketchy, like because of rent in Singapore and the tools. You know, over the past, the time Plain and Bevel has been up, almost everything is reinvested. Anything that I make is to rent, food, and tools. Tools are very important to me. I mean, the amount of tools in here could probably be, you know, more than like 50,000.
Easily.
You know, maybe it's a small amount for a fabrication shop, by like international standards. But you know, it's for me. It was very important that I get the right tools, because with the right tools, right, you can achieve that level of quality, but with less effort, more brain.
Oh yeah, the air compressor gun, for
Yeah.
example.
You know, so
The nail gun.
it's like you have to know what tools to get, and to know you need to learn from other people.
What's your favorite tools?
My favorite tool,
Yeah. If you can choose, okay, maybe three lah. One would be too little. Right?
machinery or hand tool,
Oh man.
because there's a difference. You know,
Okay. Well, machinery, three machinery and three hand tools.
3 machinery.
So six in total. You can choose 6 things.
Table saw lah. That's the powerhouse
Yeah.
of the shop, and then you have
Is that the first table saw that we have back to then to now?
no, the first one is there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I remember that.
This one is like primary school.
Oh, okay.
And then this one is like upgrade to uni.
Oh, it's professional.
It's straight to uni.
Okay.
It's just the power lah. It's
Right.
more power. And then maybe the second one would be the jointer.
Which is that? That one?
Yeah, the jointer is it's a flattening machine. It makes wood flat,
Oh, that's so
which is very important in like casework when you make cabinets. So everything has to be flat and straight. It's actually woodworking is very complicated.
well.
It really is.
Hey, you know what?
But a lot of people think
It's like, yeah,
just
why
like,
wood is not straight, right? I was like, well, it is not.
people have to really like spend whole day at the workshop to see how things get done.
And then the last machinery.
The bandsaw lah, that one. Because that one you can cut shapes.
Oh yeah. Not even the sander. You so your wood will begin with super raw.
Huh?
The sanding machine.
Sanding machine. I don't really like the sanding machine.
I like the sanding machine.
Dust everywhere.
And hand tools.
Hand tools. Hand tools has to be the kana.
The kana.
Kana is a Japanese hand plane.
Oh yeah, that's the one you got
It's
from.
basically a block of wood
Yep.
with a blade
Yep.
stuck in at an angle, and it's very traditional.
To make it straight, right?
That one takes a lot of work.
I know.
That's why I got that one.
Yeah. And the last two. Oh, enough lah, kana. We're good.
Hand tool lah. Your saw lah.
Drill lah.
Saw and drill, yeah.
Okay lah. What sort of like mindsets or attitudes should like differentiate a hobbyist and a serious woodworker? Because we do know that there are some people who are just a hobbyist, turn a room, a HDB room into a woodworking studio, right?
I guess the mindset that they would have to adapt is one of openness. You need an open mind to run a business, because if you close yourself off to opportunities, then you might as well be a hobbyist.
That's true. I am.
I think there's a lot of in woodworking. There's a couple of schools of thought. There are ones that are purely hand tools, like they don't use machinery at all, and there are some that are very pro machinery. And I like to think that it's good to be in the middle, because the purists, they teach you about tradition and perseverance. It really is because with hand tools, you need a lot of muscle and just it's sweat. But it teaches you really a lot about perseverance, because it takes a lot longer,
Yeah.
and there's a lot more it's just elbow grease. But machinery, it helps with the efficiency of things, productivity. But in the shop, we use machinery, but it's controlled by human beings. So there's still that human element. The machinery only helps us to do things faster. And sometimes it's not necessarily a bad thing, because that's what purists argue lah. Like faster doesn't mean better, that kind of thing. But I guess as long as you know what you're doing and why you're doing it, in trying to achieve a goal, that means like do a certain number of things in a certain period of time, I think all is okay, right? All is good, right?
I think it's actually almost close to impossible to be a purist and to be a serious woodworking business.
Yeah, you can't.
Because
It's more of like being an artist,
Because
purist.
imagine right now you're a purist, right, and you just only use hand tool. How much will you need to charge for your table?
Yeah, amazing amounts. But if let's say you do it out of your flat, you don't pay rent. You don't pay rent for that section of. I like about what my position now is that I get to enjoy the wonders of technology and appreciate the beauty of working with hand tools. It really is beautiful. Like it really is very satisfying. So I get to straddle both schools of thoughts, and I love it. That's partly why I have it as a business. To sustain a hobby, maybe.
I think me too. No, because back in the days, remember, I think I wouldn't say you're only a woodworker, because you remember you started out playing with 3D design, 3D printing, and then and then you're free to do wood. Then you went to Japan to try the hand tool stuff, and now you're bringing metal welding into the picture. Like, is there an underlying element that like tie all these things together? What do you enjoy out of
It's creating. The underlying principle is creating. I've always liked to create. Like even when I was younger, I told my mom I wanted to be a chef because I like cooking. At that point of time, lah. I mean, I still do. It's just that I don't cook as much as I would want to. I think if you think about like how I dabbled with 3D printing and now metalworking, you can I saw it as I just like to make, and 3D printing, metal working, woodworking, it was all just mediums for me to explore my so-called making tendencies lah.
Yeah.
It was just
different
something,
expression or creation?
yeah, something to materialize what I wanted to do. So I wouldn't call myself a woodworker really, because I do design, I work with wood. It really is. All these are just my medium. Like how for an artist, their medium is the canvas. They paint. So I guess this is how I see what I do lah.
And also, I feel that in retrospect, if you're not doing woodworking, you're probably creating something.
I would probably would lah. I will gravitate to something that is like a maker, a making, something that has to do with the making process.
Yeah. I mean, it's all a try and error, right? We don't know what we like to make, so let's just try 3D printing one day, and then not my thing, and wood and
No, I still use
metal.
it actually. I
You
still
still
like
use it?
3D printing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. What do you last use?
I use it for scale models.
Oh.
So like I'll print out scale models of the furniture
Yeah.
for the client to see and appreciate proportion, and then they will say like, oh, it's nice, and then I'll do it. I'll make it the actual size.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't really have the ability to see in proportion. And there's nothing wrong. Some people are just more attuned to seeing in proportion.
And could I just add on to what you said is that everything that is here and that Rafie is doing right now is learned from YouTube. Even using the design
Yeah.
app, right? Yeah, software.
YouTube and a lot of common sense.
Well, yeah, try it now.
you gotta put that in.
Hey, let's move on to traveling. Actually, because you've been to a few countries and met some woodworkers there. I think both new school and old school, right? So Indonesia, Thailand, Japan. Is there anything I missed out?
No, yeah. I think
That's
that's
about it, right? What do you think is like the main differences between like woodworkers over there and woodworkers here? The culture and also the culture of woodworking.
Culture. Singapore has no culture of woodworking.
Okay.
They really don't.
Yeah.
Woodworking.
Why do you think? Why do you? Sorry to interrupt, but
No. What were you going to say?
why do you think we don't?
Because carpentry is an industry in Singapore. It's not a craft. There is no. It didn't survive lah. Like back in the olden days, like my grandfather, he was a boat maker. You know those boats, the from China, or the big fan and everything. Yeah, he used to make those boats. That's how my father used to help him. But it didn't survive. No one made it relevant. No one kind of like, because in the whole rush of like nation building, I think that Singapore experienced in the after a few centuries after independence, everything priorities was all on like building an economy that was that they knew how to build in Singapore, like making Singapore a global, like a trading port or becoming a financial hub, that was more attractive than, like, administering programs to support craft, We are still very young, as a country, even though it's only 50 years, it's only 50 years. Like if you look at countries like Japan, their history of craft goes back to the samurais, man. It's like very long knowledge, and the government supports it. In Singapore, I would say the government does, but not in the right places lah. I mean, they see it as relevant. They see their money going into places like SFIC, Singapore Furniture Industry Council. But it's really to support the industry lah, of carpentry, cabinetry and all that. But very little for, the stuff like what I'm doing, more creative form of furniture. I guess that's the big difference with like those countries that I've been to.
And how's the woodworker over there? Any?
Oh, they're really cool.
You met not? Do you met not? If I were a carpenter.
I didn't get to meet him.
Oh,
but I went to his shop, to his studio.
Okay.
He was at his workshop, which was like a few
Which
miles
is now
away.
which is now his studio.
I'm
Another
jealous,
one
man.
container.
Honestly, I'm jealous. Like if I had that space.
I think that's the challenge Singaporeans face.
Yeah, that's one of the barriers to what we do. It's space constraints.
It's more the price too.
Price also lah. Yeah. It's rental is would be a killer lah for a startup. But if you really want to do it, then just do it lah. At most you fail, right?
So I think you have this mindset that a lot of people wouldn't have, and even comparing to me, like half the time I'm scared for you. Every time I come to you, it's like, hey, Rafie, you need help or not? Because you like an upgrade. This is an upgrade from your old place. Like almost the rent double, right? Coming to this place, and of course I think there was one point you were like, okay, I'm sharing it with this other people when you first came, and the other person just thought of like, oh, I need to go.
Yeah.
And
couldn't make it lah.
and couldn't make it, and I was like, whoa, okay, because then your rent double again.
Yeah.
And then the Japanese interior designer sort of came to share, and then he left too.
Now it's just plain and bevel.
Just thinking about.
And it's something I'm really proud of lah. It's for me, it's a milestone lah.
Hmm.
You know, it's a lot. Yeah, like you said, mindset lah. You know, if you rent doubles, then it just means that you have to do double work lah. You know? If you really want to do it lah.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, on a funny note, I was searching your name on the internet, and then I found your couch surfing profile.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's still there.
It's still there.
Yeah, it was from 2000. Do you actually use it?
I think I did in Portugal. When I was backpacking in Europe. I think just one
Was
place.
that your first trip?
First trip where?
Like backpacking, like solo. It
Oh,
was
no lah.
solo
No,
backpacking.
I've been solo backpacking since uni.
Actually, yeah, that's something we knew of each other, but I never really asked you on that. Like, how did that happen? Like, how did that start for you, like solo backpacking? Because it's not a very normal thing that any old Singaporean would like. All right, let's just go on holiday. Just myself, and people like, aren't you lonely?
No lah.
But how did you? I mean, of course, now I know it's so beautiful to the serendipity of getting lost and learning and meeting new people. But how did you get started on that first trip and explore?
From Melbourne to Phuket.
Oh,
Yeah. Phuket.
alone, solo.
Alone, yeah, solo.
Why did you choose Phuket?
I like Thai food.
Bangkok, ah.
No, but I like the beach also.
Okay.
Because that one we were coming right out of Melbourne in winter. So a bit of sun would be good.
Yeah, and then there's either that or Bali, right?
Yeah. But I don't really like. I mean, it's not that I don't like Bali. I prefer Phuket. Because of the food.
And how did that lead up to Portugal and couchsurfing?
Oh, Portugal was part of a 1 month trip around Europe.
Oh,
And just like right into the north of Africa also.
no way.
Morocco.
Oh, okay.
It was really interesting. Very interesting.
Was that your second trip out after? Or
Yeah.
like,
That was
really?
after uni.
Okay.
That was after uni.
So it's like a big gap.
But like during uni, I went to places, but in Australia lah, like Sydney by myself, you know. Then there were other trips also, but Europe was the big one lah.
And you tried couchsurfing there.
Yeah. But very briefly lah, only one night. Then I went to a hostel.
Oh, didn't like it.
A bit weird but
But you know,
Let's not-
I'm a big time couchsurfer, right?
yeah, I know. You're always bringing friends along with you that
Yeah.
are couch surfing at your place. It's quite cool.
Yeah, because when I did my trip to the US, I had no choice but to couchsurf because my finances just is not enough to.
Expensive.
Well, hostels there are crazy. It's like Singapore price a bed for $30.
Really? In the US?
In here in Singapore, $25 to $30 too.
A night.
Yeah, a night. Yeah, so I had no choice but to, use couchsurfing to crash on people's couch. Yeah,
But it's good lah because you're a really friendly guy.
you think so?
It's appropriate.
Are you not?
I am lah, but at times.
Okay.
Not all the time.
Do you learn anything from traveling, like solo, like you know?
There's 1,001 ways to do one thing. So doesn't mean you know how to do something one way. It's the only way lah.
What made you?
I think that's like the guiding principle for how I am in my relationships. You know, business relationship or personal relationships. Because if you look at, I can't give you an example, but at that time I was being exposed to like a lot of different cultures, right? You know, and some things are similar in cultures, you know, but you know they do it a different way, but we do it a different way. So, and the end result is maybe the same or maybe slightly different, but the important thing to note is, you know, you can do it a different way. It's okay.
I think I know exactly what you're talking
You know?
about. I take the energy of how people live their life. because I get to meet people. You know, firstly, the couchsurfing are a weird bunch of people to be open their house to other people to come in without knowing them. And then most of the people there are like, okay, so the story is my first trip Australia, and then there's this Malaysian Chinese guy, but it's Australian in the forces, and he got out already. And the first day I went with him, so I put my bag, and then we went to salsa dance. There's a free lesson, and then we went to Chinatown, drink some drinks, and went back to his place. He had this vest, and he took out, there was a huge knife, like this big behind him, while he was salsa dancing with other people. I was like, oh my god, that's crazy.
What is it?
Yeah, correct. So that's the question. He was actually, US and Australia are allied. So he was in every war after the Vietnam War. And the knife saved him a few times. And the explanation is that most people who have a gun don't want to shoot you, because if they would want to, they have already shot you. And most people have never gotten hit by a gun. Versus everyone will get a paper cut. So they know how like a knife will feel. And psychologically, that is also more scary in that sense. So, but funnily enough, you know, like, I mean, we think if we haven't met that guy, we're like, no, I'm not going to be friends with a guy who brings a huge knife around on his back, right? But turns out we became like really good friends. He came to Singapore, crashed on my couch. We went to do that.
But he didn't carry the knife around when he was in Singapore.
Oh, he had a small knife.
So he still had a knife.
He still had a knife. And I actually, when I go on my gap year, I called him, hey, you know, Rick, like, what knife should I buy? Yeah. And then he was telling me about, oh, you need to have something here so that when you stab, it doesn't, you know, you won't hurt your hands. Oh, okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do some really quick questions. Any books or documentary to recommend?
Books.
Yeah.
When I was in uni, I think in my second year, I read this book by John Crocker. It's Into the Wild.
Oh, the one that was being made into movie.
Yeah, the one that has now been made into movie lah. I think that book really shaped the way I think after uni.
Why?
It's a very interesting book. It's about the struggle of being, and it's a true story. It's about a guy in the US by the name of Christopher McCandless. He went to Alaska and then he eventually died lah. But it was a narration about his struggle to be himself while at the same time being accepted into society. So after he graduated, he burned all his possessions, and then he
Should we stop there? Because, you know, then we don't tell the whole story.
okay.
Yeah, people
So yeah,
want to read.
that's the book. It's a really good book
Okay.
about conviction.
Advice. Right now you're 28. So advice for 18-year-old self then.
Oh,
And
10 years ago.
Please ask where you're at.
What was I doing? Oh, I was serving tables.
You're serving tables?
Yeah, at Tanglin Club.
18. Aren't you in Australia?
No, I already came back.
Oh, okay.
I came back. I was waiting to be enlisted.
Oh.
So I thought, you know, why not just get a job? And I was serving tables at Tanglin Club. I was serving like martinis and cocktails to these tai-tais, you know. You know where Tanglin Club is, right?
Yeah,
It's in the middle of Orchard Road.
It's crazy. Do you need to wear a suit? Like a bow tie?
No, that time I was working at the pool restaurant, so I had this flowery, you know, this
Plastic.
beach shirt on.
Okay, and then like shorts.
Yeah, so it's like every day was like at the beach. Advice. Actually, I wouldn't change anything.
Okay.
You just
Be yourself.
really, because who I am now it's a combination of all the decisions I've made, either good or bad, you know, clever or stupid, you know. Here I am now, and I kind of like where I am now. So, you know, if you change something, who knows?
But like the butterfly effect.
Yeah,
right?
you might end up somewhere else.
When you think of someone, the word successful, who came into your mind and who would you define as successful?
You know, I'm prone to think of someone with a lot of money, but you know, over time, I'm starting to think that you know, success is not about that. I think if you find something you like, right, and you manage to do it, and you do it with passion, before you die, you know,
Yeah.
because then I guess that would be success for me.
Who do you have anyone in mind?
Actually, I'm quite anti-Mac, you know, but I really admire Steve Jobs. It's like he gave the world something they didn't need. And he grew it into such a huge company. I really admire him for that.
Yeah. Morning routines or any routines or habits you find important?
Coffee. I need coffee. And I need about like maybe half an hour of just not doing anything. Just maybe staring into space. It really is. It's just kind of like collecting
Meditation.
my thoughts. Maybe it is meditation. But I do it with a cup of coffee. You know, I do it here in the office or just standing in the shop. It's really important for me to get my bearings.
What are some of the most common misconceptions about you or your work?
Oh,
You're like, oh, too much.
so many, man. People think I'm a younger version of those ape that do cabinet, which is it's you know it's a fair because I am surrounded by them every day. I see them, I talk to them. I think the most common misconception is that my work is easier because they don't necessarily say it, but they say it when you talk about price. So they'll be like, oh, so expensive, you know.
Then after that,
It's like your table takes like 2 weeks to make, you know, that kind of thing, and the amount of work involved. That maybe
how do
that
you
is
explain
one.
to them?
I get them to come to the shop,
Oh yeah, that's why you get them to come to the shop, right?
That's how they see. Oh, the wood's so big, you know, like
How to carry,
the table's so big, Just let them have a feel of you know the hot and sweaty workshop. Then they will understand.
Okay. Okay, so what are some upcoming projects that people can look forward to, and where can people find you on the internet?
Plainandbevel.com. We have our website. They can get us through there or just give me a call. The number is on the site also. What are some upcoming projects? A lot more furniture, and we are also planning to, you know, slowly start a product line. Not say a very consistent product line, but like pieces that we make and then we retail to whoever wants to buy it. I think that's the one of the end game for Plain and Bevel, to be positioned in the Singapore market as you know something a local furniture maker that retails also, not just custom makes. Custom making will always be part of the what we do lah. But I want to offer, because with retail I can make whatever I want to make, you know. And you know, you want to buy it, you buy it lah. If you don't, then someone else will buy it. But custom is more like the client,
you.
know, the client wants to make something in particular. Yeah lah.
All right, we're done.
Okay, done.
Finish. Aku tired.
I never talk so long.
That's true. Most of the time you're talking in wood lah, so
Yeah.
apa knowing to talk, right?
Wood whisperer.
Whisperer.